We're here today to talk about quite possibly the coolest part of Power Rangers is when we get to explore the multiverse.
This is like getting into the Shattered Grid, right?
This is leading in, yeah, like everything that's happened up to this point directly feeds into Shattered Grid. So get excited for that.
I'm so ready.
I will say this: Power Rangers has not done. They're not big on the filler stuff, except for like in the annuals. So everything that they introduce, every character they introduce, plays a role. They're not just like, it's not just like fluff.
One-off.
Yeah, it's not fluff pieces that they're doing here. So we picking up where we left off last time. Billy and Tommy have woken up in a version of Angel Grove that is similar to their own, but not even remotely the same.
Right.
And this issue picks up, rather than focusing on Tommy and Billy in this other Angel Grove, it's seeing the repercussions of what happened during the battle against the Black Dragon. Jason's family is mourning, or Jason and all the Rangers that are still there, they're all like so relieved that their children came home. Except, well, Tommy's mother is filing a police report, and Billy's parents are calling everyone they know to find out where Billy and Tommy might have gone. And
right.
As it's a new dynamic I've come to understand within the last couple of years of this parental role. I didn't really understand it the first time I read this, but looking at it through a different lens now, it's interesting because, like, hell, I've had it where, you know, Angel is gone for like 20 minutes and I'm like, I have no idea where she is, and she left her phone. Should I call the cops? I don't. To be clear, I don't call the police when she goes missing, because usually she's just under a pile of blankets and squishmallows and I just didn't see her the first time. But no, like as stepping into this new parental role that I've found myself in over the last couple of years, it does put a whole new lens on like the idea of a missing child. It's a stressful situation, and they do a good job of portraying it without being like laying it on super thick, you know.
Okay.
Now,
yeah, I can't go through that.
Not yet. No. Imagine if someone took Rhodey.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that one. Okay.
Yeah. So while everyone's trying to find Tommy and Billy, they're kind of just like, well, this is weird. Like, this ain't our world. It looks like our world. It smells like our world. There's, you know, museums and shit like in our world, but these museums are dedicated to, well, Rita Repulsa. And we also have, we're introduced to someone that looks a heck of a lot like a Power Ranger. But this Power Ranger is carrying, you know, heavy ammunition, also sporting some, like, more dense body armor, and it's very quickly established that we're dealing with a police state. Angel Grove has turned into, well, you know, the military is out enforcing a curfew, and Tommy just happens to be carrying the one thing that he, as the Green Ranger, should not have in this world for one reason or another, which is the Dragon Dagger. Now, as I said, this story arc reveals who that awesome designed White Ranger is that we saw at the end of the Black Dragon story arc. And one thing that you'll note with all of the symbol, like all of the crests that you see around town, they all match up to the crest that was on his chest at the end of that issue. So whoever he is a very important person, and he has his own personal armies.
Oh, all right.
Like, why else would they be patrolling around a museum dedicated to them? You know?
Yeah.
So they decide that they're going to head to the high school. That's like a landmark. They're high school kids. Just to, you know, this issue's gentle reminder that they are, in fact, high school kids. And They've come across the high school is no longer a high school. It's a correctional facility, molding the minds of tomorrow. And, of course, because one soldier was there shooting at them, they now have an army, or a small platoon of armies, or of soldiers coming after them. And they give us a name drop for the first time on who this mysterious new ranger is. The name Lord Draken, or Draken, depending on who you ask on how it's pronounced. I go with Draken because it's an A and two Ks instead of an A-K-O-N. And basic English, tells you that when there's a short letter, or if there's a letter or a vowel followed by two consonants, it makes the short sound. God, I love it. So Tommy and Billy make their daring escape. They jump into the ocean and swim a remarkable ways away from the city of Angel Grove. Like I'm talking like the statues of Tommy, or of the Green Ranger and Rita Repulsa that were in the distance, those massive, like, taller than building size statues are just like minuscule in the background. I don't know how they swam that far. It might have something to do with the fact that they're Power Rangers, but who is really to say,
They're young and they're spry. They have.
I was young and spry once too. I don't recall swimming like 5 miles across the open ocean.
You were also not being chased by a platoon.
You don't know my life. I could have been chased by the platoon. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, and by ranch I mean Rita's evil moon base in the evil dark dimension where Goldar is chained up, Rita is asking him what the hell happened. Like, bro, you were in here with the Blue Ranger. How'd the Blue Ranger get out? And he's just like, hey, babe, you know what, you're right. Problem is, I was all chained up. I couldn't really do nothing. I tried to stop him. I tried to be like, hey man, you do it. And he was like, you gonna stop me or what? And he didn't, I couldn't, I was chained up. And Rita's just like, all right, listen, I know you're full of shit, but I'm gonna give you another chance to prove yourself here. And he's like, oh girl, I'm gonna prove you so good. I'm gonna prove you so good your mama's gonna feel it.
Oh wow.
So while Goldar and Rita are having their lovely little chat and Tommy and Billy are swimming for their lives, the rest of the Rangers are just trying to make sense of what the hell happened. They're looking over the destroyed Black Dragon and coming to realize that, like, this isn't just a Zord. This is something that's been spliced together, and it's not from this reality. And while they're trying to figure out who it is that made this, Billy and Tommy are treated to a very destroyed command center with Zords that we would recognize as viewers, but they haven't come across yet, and that is the Thunder Zords. Half buried in the mountain, we have Tor, which is the Tortoise Carrier Zord, the Griffin Saber-Tooth Tiger Thunder Zord, the Red Dragon Tyrannosaurus Thunder Zord, and the Blue Unicorn Triceratops Zord.
Which Power Rangers was this?
So the second season of Mighty Morphin is when they get these upgrades.
Interesting.
And while they're picking through the debris, they come across a familiar face for those that paid attention in the TV show. We have Saba, the White Ranger's talking tiger head sword, which is cool. I don't know if you remember Saba from the show, Jose.
Man, vaguely, but I'm gonna look it up right now.
All right, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of history.
Okay, yep.
So here's a little bit of history that isn't like a lot of people talk about. Is if you pay attention to Tommy as the Green Ranger versus Tommy as the White Ranger. Tommy as the Green Ranger is a lot more brooding, fighting style, like when he's in the suit. Versus the White Ranger, he's a lot more playful. He jumps around a lot more. Seems just more generally excited about life.
Okay.
So, in our series, the basic reason was is that the white power that he got, white light power that he received, is a lot more pure. It's a pure light, so he's a lot more pure-hearted when he's morphed, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the reason behind the scenes for this playful jumping around, running around kind of version of Tommy in the suit is, in Japan, he was a child. The White Ranger in Japan, in their series, Dia Ranger, it was a child that morphed into a Power Ranger. So all this behavior and mannerisms of him jumping around, like getting super excited about the fight, is because it was a literal child in the suit.
It's almost like a Shazam, kind of.
Sort of.
Essence, or
yeah. That's basically what it was. Is over in Japan, it was a child. Over here, they tried to make it seem like, make it work like it wasn't a child, but it was actually like he behaved like a child. So Saba was in Japan meant to be like a guide for the White Ranger, whereas over here it's just a cool talking sword that shoots lasers out of his eyes. And as Billy and Tommy are making their way out of this destroyed command center, well, they're found by the patrol that was chasing them earlier, as well as that hardcore motherfucker with the white suit and like the over-exaggerated curves and edges. And he takes off his helmet, and it's revealed to be none other than an evil version of Tommy.
Aw, shit.
And one thing to note when you're looking up close at this suit is it takes elements from both the Green Ranger suit and the White Ranger suit. So, like, something to note here. So the armor, like his armor, is very clearly taken from the Dragon or the Green Ranger's suit, but they just modified it so it had a little bit more color. But this layering that they do with the front chest piece here is reminiscent of what the White Ranger had, where there was the layers upon each, and then the coin in the center was also from the White Ranger aspect, right?
Right.
On the helmet, this like these stripe designs that it has running along it is directly taken from the White Ranger. It even has 4 eyes on the helmet because it's 2 sets of powers that have been combined in one.
The amount of detail they made into the suit.
They put so much love into this suit.
Yeah. And
just this huge reveal. I remember the first time I read this, probably like, God, this was like 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
It was just it makes sense, you know? But at the same time, it's like, I didn't think that they would have, like, that wasn't where I expected this to go. So, just getting to see evil Tommy that stayed evil always gets my nips hard.
Right? Like, they could have just went the full, like, the Green Ranger going full on evil. No, right. They went a step above and made both the light pure and with the Dragon Zord.
Right. And then I am glad that they elaborate on what happened. They don't just leave it up to interpretation as to what may have happened. They tell you what happened. With Lord Draken's big dramatic entrance, like, Tommy's in disbelief. He's like, yeah, okay, whatever, asshole. Look at you. You're all old and gross, and I'm svelte. Like, do you see these rock hard abs? And Lord Draken's like, man, shut your bitch ass childish face up. And as Draken's like legit, like straight up ready to murder 2 children, Saba does his thing and finally steps up and shows why they need his help and wakes up the White Tiger Zord.
Oh, hell yeah.
And this White Tiger is beat to hell. Like, there are wires hanging out of it. There's chunks of its armor that's been broken and damaged. It looks like my action figure of the White Tiger that I keep on my shelf. Just, it's real busted up. And, like, it's very clear that it's been the victim of some kind of disturbing ass massacre. And Saba's just like, all right, guys, I didn't wake this thing up to help us here. I got it. It's just a distraction. We got to get over to this other cool thing I've got. It's called the Falcon Zord, which for those people that watched, season 3 of the Power Rangers, sure, they had the Falcon Zord. I'm talking, if you watch the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, you know a lot more about the Falcon Zord, and it shows up, and shit's all great when it shows up. So when I was excited when I saw the Thunder Zords, but then when Saba reveals, like, I've just got this Falcon Zord lying around, we could get on it and fly away in it. Every part of my like inner child exploded with joy, because it's like they're not referencing one thing. They're referencing every part of the series in small, subtle ways, you know?
That's so cool.
And
that's what you get when you get good writers.
I will say this first chunk of Power Rangers, best writers in comics I've read in a long time. Now again, Tommy and Billy, they're just having a crazy, wacky adventure, while the other Rangers, as well as all of Angel Grove, are like mourning, because there's a very good chance that Billy and Tommy are dead. And it's really hard for the Rangers, especially because they're like, we might know what happened to them, but there is no way for us to be able to tell that we know what might have happened to them.
So they're like harboring even more guilt,
right?
In a sense, yeah.
Like there's guilt, there's sadness for the friends they lost, there's anger that they weren't there to help when they were needed. So these four Rangers are truly suffering, and I do want to point something out. I just realized this for the first time. Something very interesting about the Rangers that went to Draken's world versus the ones that stayed behind. These four Rangers, Jason, Zach, Trini, and Kimberly, are all four Rangers that got replaced later in the series.
Wait.
So
what do you mean?
So in season 2 of Power Rangers, Jason, Zach, and Trini went to that World Summit, right? And left and were no longer Power Rangers after that, right?
Okay.
And they got replaced by Adam, Rocky, and Aisha. And then in season 3, Kimberly got replaced with Catherine. Catherine was in the series from the end of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers all the way up through like halfway through Turbo. So like these four Rangers, they were the OGs, but all four of them later on got replaced. And I am very curious to know if there's a reason for that. If this writing style, or like writing wise, if they did that on purpose, or if it was just a weird coincidence, you know? Meanwhile, Rita's come back, and she's like, all right, guys, listen, I've been talking with Goldar, and he's going to help us. Here's what we're going to do. Finster, I want you to build a better Goldar. Finster is, as we already know, he's a very talented little beastie, right? He can build all kinds of crazy shit. But she just gave him a challenge because Goldar already is insanely powerful. He's already an insanely, like, he's a general for an alien warlord that's been doing this for years. He is pretty close to the apex predator of the universe, right? And Rita's just dropped the ball and was like, hey, why don't you Goldar's great, but like, let's fix him. Let's fix all of his flaws that he has. Let's make the perfect version of Goldar. And again, like, all of these things are happening. Like, I wanna say that the way that they tell this story from these three different perspectives, we don't just get one story. We're getting three different stories running concurrently with each other. And the way it all ties together is beautifully crafted. And we'll get there. We'll get to where everything kind of comes together. Tommy and Billy arrive in the middle of the forest, in the middle of like nowhere with Saba. And I want to, like, we've talked about the size of the Zords before, like comparing it to like man-made things, but yeah. I've never really, you don't really think about how big the Zords are in comparison to nature. This Falcon Zord is standing like
It's towering
It's
over
so much
those
taller
trees.
than the trees. And if I'm not very mistaken, I believe this is supposed to be the redwoods, which the redwood forest is hundreds of years old, and their trees are absolutely immense. And I only say that I'm assuming it's the redwoods because it's California, and that's where the redwoods are. But like this thing is like the tree line barely comes up past its legs with it standing. And for a reminder, the legs on the Falcon Zord are stubby. They're not very long. They're like owl legs.
For the viewers, for those who don't know, those trees can get anywhere up to 375 feet.
Right, and again, that's assuming that it's the redwoods. But even if it's not the redwoods, like if these are, I'm going to use my science terms. These are deciduous trees. These are not coniferous. So they're not pine trees. So we know that they're at least like oaks or something of that nature, right? So these are trees that are known to get large. So, yeah. And once they arrive here, Billy is like, all right, listen, talking sword thing. We need some real answers here. What the fuck's going on in the most Billy way possible? You know, he's Billy. He probably wouldn't say. He'd probably say. He probably cusses like a Mormon. He says freaking or frickin',
or gosh darn it,
consarn it, things like that.
Yeah.
And he's just like, look, man, we followed you. We trusted you. Now you need to trust us and give us some kind of information. And so Saba spills everything. He's like, all right, check it. We had a Green Ranger, right? And he was bad. Like, he was really bad. He kicked the crap out of everyone. To the point that even all 5 of the Rangers couldn't stop him. And they tried to help him. You know, basically it plays out almost exactly like it does for the canon stuff. Like, you know, Tommy shows up, they try to help him and whatnot. Except in this version, Tommy makes the choice to go back to Rita. And we're given a little bit more of like the idea of what happened is Tommy and Rita basically quote unquote liberated people. They burned down cities. They took care of all the leaders of the world, and Rita was made the queen.
Oh, dude.
Here's the thing. At this point, the world is viewing Rita as the good guy. And without taking a political stance either way on what's happening in the world, it's really scary how you can see this kind of thing happen in real life, where you have somebody that is so very clearly evil, but people are so willing to let them take control for the sake of having some kind of normalcy. And like there's even like there is a sign, there people got their political signs out front, like let Rita rule, things like that, and it's disturbing. It is like it's a twisted statement on like the state of things, you know?
Yeah.
But then we get to see one of the coolest fucking team-ups of all time here. So Zordon and the Power Rangers are still like, look, Rita may be claiming that she's the one that's going to save everything, but that's not good enough for us. We need to upgrade. And so they give Jason the White Ranger treatment that Tommy gets in the real world, or in the main world. So they're preparing to give Jason the upgrade. We've got not only the mighty Morphin Power Rangers aside from Jason, so you got Kimberly, Trini, Billy, and Zach that are preparing for battle. We've also got the Rangers from Aquitar, which, as you recall, are the alien Rangers that showed up in Season 3, and the Phantom Ranger who showed up in Turbo.
Who is that? Who that is? That Black Ranger right
this
there
is,
with like the
yep, that's
armor?
That's the Phantom Ranger. So he is just another kind of Ranger. Like, he's not really considered a legitimate Ranger, but he's there. He's part of the team. And Ninjor is also there because he is the one that created the power coins.
Really?
Yeah. So according to the canon, Ninjor is the one that created the power coins. And I can't remember if he taught Zordon how to make power coins or if he just entrusted them to him. So I'm talking.
Hold on. Doesn't that make him like even like older in like lore wise?
So
Is it traded the coin?
something fun about Golda or about Ninjor is he doesn't. Dude lives in a bottle. So like he's kind of a genie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's not technically quote unquote like human.
No, he's definitely not human.
Okay.
If I remember right, he's from the same planet that Alpha was built on.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, alien kind of guy.
Yeah, one day you're gonna have to like help me go through all the lore because this is.
I'll do what I can.
Crazy.
There's a lot going on. I completely understand. So we see this lineup of Rangers from literally all across time or all across space, right? This is a crossover. First of all, this is a crossover that never happened in the TV show. When the Alien Rangers, the Aquitar Rangers, which are these ninja-looking dudes, came to Earth, it was because the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers had been de-aged like a decade.
What the hell?
In season 3 of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Rita's dad turned back time, so all of the Rangers were children. So Zordon called to the Alien Rangers for help. They were not here at this point in the story. Again, we've also got the Thunder Zords, which is the upgrade that Zordon gave to the Mighty Morphin Rangers after Lord Zed showed up. At this point, Lord Zed hasn't shown up yet. This is an upgrade that he gave them because they couldn't handle Tommy as the Green Ranger.
That's nuts, dude.
And also, the fact that they've got the Falcon Zord with them means that they had to use Ninjor's powers too, because Ninjor is the one that gives them the ninja powers in season 3. So, Rita and Tommy's forces are so intense that it takes 2 teams of Power Rangers, including an extra one that only shows up from time to time because his powers are that unstable, with the Phantom Ranger, and also like upgraded Super Zords with a Super Zord from across space, and they're still going up against them and like getting their asses handed to them. And this, okay, I know you're wondering, this giant floating head here, that's Lokar. In America, he's just like a dude from the demon world that powers up Rita from time to time. In Japan, that's literally Satan.
Oh.
So like they're dealing with like the evilest of evils right now. And as this huge fight is happening on the grounds of the command center, Jason is getting that power up that he desperately needs. We see the beginnings of the White Ranger armor starting to form on him, and just as he's about to finish everything up, Tommy busts in.
Oh shit.
And Tommy, we've already established that Tommy beat the shit out of 4 or 5 Power Rangers, and now it's just Jason. And when the doors of the command center open up, we see Lord Draken has been upgraded, and he's holding Jason's helmet. Which, I'm not an expert on things, but usually if somebody's holding their opponent's helmet, that means their opponent did not make it out. Now, as a fan of what if stories, this is one that really hits hard, because first of all, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is a cultural, like, it blew everyone's mind.
Yeah.
Nobody expected Power Rangers to last as long as it did. Like, there was a point that Power Rangers was supposed to end after 40 episodes. But it became so popular that they had to make more episodes of it. Now, with Tommy's character, he was not supposed to be around after his 5-episode arc, Green with Evil. He was supposed to be a temporary part of the cast, but his character tested so well with audiences that they ended up making him a permanent cast member. So
as the Green Ranger?
Yeah, exactly. And then eventually the White Ranger, and then the Red Ranger, and then the Red Ranger again. But like, Tommy is so much he is one and the same as Power Rangers, basically. If there's no Tommy, there's really no Power Rangers, right? Mm-hmm. And they took that idea and said, you know what? Fuck it. Let's make a version of Tommy that is so evil that the idea of him existing is reprehensible to the guy that grows up to be him. Like, it's sick, it's twisted, and I love it. It's an incredible start to this story. Like, real, and given we're already in the second issue, but like it's a train ride, and I love it. And as Saba's wrapping up his story, he's like, all right, guys, well, listen, I'm done keeping y'all distracted for a bit, and I want you to meet my peeps. And Tommy and Billy both get, like, lasered and collapse because, the cavalry's arrived. We get a couple of people, one of which is very clearly Trini, and then two strangers, which if you know the show, you know who one of them's supposed to be. This black woman that's standing in the front that lasered them with her, like, lasso of truth. That's Aisha. That's the second Yellow Ranger.
Okay.
So, and then the third one, I'm not going to. I don't want to spoil too early as to who that is, but he's a pretty important character. And something I never thought I was going to get to see, and I'm so happy I got to see it here, is I have never thought about what Goldar looks like under all of his armor. But for the first time in my life, I got to see it because Finster needed to be able to sculpt everything.
He's like a bat, isn't he?
No, he's like a gorilla and a lion.
Oh, okay.
You're thinking Babu. Babu is a vampire bat.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So Goldar had to strip of his armor, which, again, I don't think they ever did in the TV show.
No, I can't even recall.
Like, I don't think that this is something that's happened before. So first of all, you had to wonder, like, what's below it. He dresses very modestly. Not like modest as in like, oh, he's covering up all his bits, but like, he doesn't dress extravagantly unless he's wearing his armor. Like, his clothing is that it looks like a peasant's clothing.
Yeah.
And Finster's just like, hey man, look, you got a great physique on you. You've got some really cool things going on. But like, let me show you some cool things I can do. And he's sculpted, and Goldar's like, I don't like this. Nobody can be better than I'm the best. And Rita's like, shut up. And Finster is doing his best, and he has to go resupply on his stuff, and he comes across something that really catches his fancy, that he didn't know was in his workshop, but we don't get to see what it is, and I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But yeah, so Finster's just like, ooh, this looks promising. And we'll probably come back to that at some point, right?
Man's about to get freaky.
Yeah. While Finster's finding the MacGuffin, whatever, Tommy and Billy have been bound and are being forced to walk. Or not being forced. Man, that doesn't sound nearly as intimidating as I thought it did when you're being forced to walk. They're being held at gunpoint by Bulk, which, Billy calls him out, like, hey, do you need to point guns at us? And they're being escorted by Bulk, Trini, and Aisha, as I said. And Aisha's just like, hey, Saba, you dumb sword, what are you doing? And he's like, listen, they're good guys. And she's like, hey, it's funny, we haven't seen you in like a while. Like, since Lord Draken went and stole the White Ranger powers. where you been, bud? And he's like, ooh, man, that's rough. Yeah, you got me. I don't have an answer for that.
You got me.
And Tommy's like, okay, look, I understand you're skeptical. I saw his face too. He looks like me. How do we prove that we are who we say we are? And none other than Zach shows up, and he's like, hey, let me see if I can see. Like I'll tell you if you are who you say you are. And Tommy's just like, hey man, it's me. And Zach's like, man, fuck you.
I'm gonna blow your head off right here.
No, he sees Saba, and Saba's like, hey man, these guys are legit. I promised you I'd come back one day with somebody that could help us, and here I am with somebody that can help us. And Zach's like, yeah, all right, okay, let's show him what we've got. And they open up basically the side of a mountain, and like I'm talking like some Mines of Moria type shit right now. And they open it up and reveal like an entire settlement of survivors that are, you know, not putting up with Rita and Draken's shit. And I don't know if you've ever tried. I mean, I personally can't say from experience, trying to convince somebody that you are who you say you are, that knows who you knows their own version of you. Yeah. But that's what Billy's trying to do, and he's like, hey, we cool, Trini, or did I do something to upset you? And she's just like, look, I appreciate that you are a version of that. You might be Billy, but you're not my Billy, and I'm not your Trini. So like, let's just leave it at that.
Oof.
And Billy's just like, that hurt. That
just right in the heart. That
sucks. And we get to see a bit more of the inner workings of Draken's palace. So we see that there are not only Black Ranger patrol like troops, there's also Yellow Rangers and Red Rangers. And I don't know if you've taken a good look at all of this, but like, yes, so the Black Rangers are all built kind of like foot soldiers, right? They've got guns, thick like body armor and stuff. But the Yellow Rangers and the Red Rangers are a bit more like knight looking.
Yeah, the red ones act as like a red guard.
Right. The red ones are actually so all of them are referred to as sentries, rather than rangers, because they're not rangers. But we've got the Red Rangers, instead of having their swords that Jason had, it looks like they took Billy's lance and combined it with the swords, because you've got a double sword bladed lance with swords on each end. They're also wearing capes, which is fucking rad.
Dude, just the practicality of that is fucking amazing.
There is absolutely no practicality of having a cape, but they did it.
I mean, the weapon itself.
Oh yeah,
as well.
It all works so well, and the pauldron. That's the word of the day, ladies and gentlemen. The pauldron, which is the shoulder guard that kind of like what the Mandalorian had, that he had the rhino's head put on. That's a pauldron. Yeah. Each of the pauldrons for these different classes of sentries has the corresponding Power Ranger emblem on it. So the black sentries have the mastodon, the yellow sentry has the saber-toothed tiger, and you know, the Tyrannosaurus sentries of course have the Tyrannosaurus. And these black sentries are like, look man, we did our best. I don't know how, but they disappeared. Like the whole Falcon Zord disappeared. And Lord Draken turns to this butch pink-haired woman that's the yellow, I'm guessing that the yellow sentries are like the platoon leaders. He's like, you know, the big issue isn't that they got away, or it's not that they disappeared. I know where they're going. The issue that we're dealing with is you let them get away. And she's like, what? Wait, hold on. And he's like, look, I'm not gonna, no. Like, there's a point where you can be forgiven, but you're past that. Goodbye. And just fucking zaps her. Just like, and
Dude is ruthless.
yeah. And he's nonchalantly like, okay, by the way, let Jax know he's going to be taking over from here. He's the new, he'll be receiving some saber-tooth powers and taking over your battalion. Goodbye. And then we get to see a familiar face. Scorpina, just kind of like being all sexy and evil, is like, hey, how's it going? You do good when you're killing people, you know that? And it's established that Scorpina, this is our version of Scorpina. This is not Lord Draken's reality Scorpina. This is the Scorpina that blew up with the green energy when the command center blew up.
Wait, really?
Yeah, she got teleported to this world because that's what happens with the chaos energy, is it sends people back and forth. And Scorpina is kind of just taunting the Draken. He's like, so I hear that the younger, better-looking version of you is putzing about, right? And he's like, you know what? I'm not too worried about it. And we get to look out over the army of sentries that they've got. Now, I've seen Lord of the Rings. You know, like when they... Let's be real here. Everyone's seen Lord of the Rings. You know when Saruman looks over his armies?
Yeah.
It's that same energy that he has now. He's like, we're not going to be like going after just me. We're killing everybody. And this is the first time that I've noticed, I haven't been really paying attention much, but that they use the term Coinless. The Coinless refer to those that were Power Rangers, or they're the allies of those that were Power Rangers. So we've seen so far Zack and Trini. We know that Billy was there at some point, but he's no longer there. And we know that Jason is probably dead. So that leaves in limbo right now. We have Kimberly. We don't know where Kimberly is. But we do see in these armies, we do see the pink sentinels or sentries. So we know at least that she no longer has her powers.
Oh shit.
And then we see another familiar face working on the ships that are getting ready to launch. Eugene Skulovich, aka Skull, who is Bulk's bestie, is working for Draken. He's one of the engineers. So it's a wild one. It's odd seeing that because Skull
having it split.
Yeah. Back at the ranch of the blown up command center in Earth 1, we'll call Earth 1 the mainstream world because, you know, just to keep things simple. Trini is still working on this black dragon thing because nobody can make heads or tails of what exactly needs to happen with it. And, you know, Kimberly's just kind of being like, I wish I could help, but, like, I don't think this thing takes credit cards. And meanwhile, Zack and Jason again, or both of them, all of them still having Green Ranger powers, which still looks pretty dope. Zack and Jason are just beating the hell out of each other to blow off steam. And, I mean, I get it. They're all fucking failures. Like, what do you do when you're a failure? Just blow off steam. And while they're kind of suffering, like trying just to figure everything out, they hear a voice that they haven't heard in a while, and that's Alpha. Alpha has made his presence known. He's like, hey, we may have a plan on what to do here. To get your powers back and to get us back. So things are starting to look a little bit brighter for Earth 1. And then jump over to Earth 2. We've got Billy just kind of wandering through the Coinless base. He doesn't really know what to do because he doesn't belong. And everybody that's around him is kind of making it known that he doesn't belong. They're even calling him like he looks like Billy, but it's really in poor taste for him to pretend to be Billy. And then we see that Billy died in this world. Billy confronts Trini about it, like, hey, can you tell me what happened? And nobody really knows exactly what happened except for Trini, because Trini was the only one there when he died. Like, there's records of what happened during the battle, but nobody's written down what happened to Billy. And we're given a flashback to Draken fighting the Rangers, where he's fighting Jason one-on-one. Again, keeping in mind, this is when Draken has been powered up by the White Ranger powers, and he was already kicking everyone's asses before, but now he's supercharged, and he is wailing on them. And the first order of business for him is to steal the powers of the other Rangers. So he steals Zack's power coin. Zack has a vision of Saba, and he's like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. And then he disappears. And then fast forward to the present, that's kind of Zack's explanation to Tommy. Trini kind of leaves us in the dark as to what happened to Billy. Like the bitch she is. So Zack and Tommy are just kind of like figuring out what to do. And then Bulk runs in. He's like, all right, so we got a problem. My buddy Skull on the inside of Draken's castle says that they're coming. They're all coming here.
He's an informant.
Yeah, he's a mole.
He's a mole. Okay.
So we've got multiple ships heading to the Coinless, while the Rangers back in Earth 1 are figuring out how to process, like, what to do here. So the Rangers are piecing together what they need to do based on, well, Alpha's instruction. Except it ain't Alpha. It's that fun little thing that Finster found in a drawer. It turns out it was Alpha's head. And he has been manipulating it to say what he wants it to say. Namely, setting up a next big fight against all of the Goldars. So, Finster got his busy little hands to work, and he built, I believe it's 5 Super Goldars. And these guys look pretty much like Goldar. They're just a bit bigger and beefier. And Rita's like, all right, Goldar, now's your chance. Lead these guys into battle, which, you know what, they do. The Rangers show up and are sad to see that, well, Rita and Finster have been tampering with things, and now there's a bunch of Goldars. I was wrong. There is 6 Super Goldars over here, as well as regular Goldar. So
that's crazy.
An army of Super Goldars, and Alpha's not really Alpha. And meanwhile, with the Coinless are under attack. Like, big old airships are blasting into their base, and unfortunately, they don't have what they need to fight back. It's a very, this is a ragtag bunch of heroes that are trying to make do with what they have. So we now have 2 battles going on simultaneously, which I always love. Like, we get plenty of movies where they have multiple fights happening within the same area, but it's very rare that we have fight sequences happening in 2 separate timelines that we're getting to see at the same time. The Rangers of Earth 1 are fighting these Goldar clones, and they're doing pretty good. They're cutting them up pretty good, but the problem is these Goldars can just put themselves back together.
Fuck, dude, that's cool.
They're dismembering them, and the Goldars are just healing as quickly as they're getting dismembered. So they're getting, you know, overpowered.
Yeah.
So they're just like, okay, we you know what? We're gonna go out and get some fresh air. They bust out of the command center, which Rita has set up base in, and they head outside, only to find that, well, these Goldars are getting big. They're all giants now.
Oh shit.
And
they have like every power of Goldar.
Right. They're monsters. These monsters have grown. And speaking of overwhelming odds, the Coinless are now being, you know, they're hunkering down, trying to fight back against an army of Power Rangers, basically, that are charging into their base, being led by Scorpina. Again, the Scorpina from Earth 1. And Tommy's like, okay, look, Saba, you've got to have some tricks here. And he pulls out the Falcon Zord and just annihilates them. And look, there's a lot that goes on in these battles. Like, there are a lot of subtle nuances. You see people fighting that you don't normally see on the pages. But the big thing is these two battles do a lot of character development in a very short amount of time. Tommy is starting to understand, like, his role in everything because, well, let's be honest, it's his evil twin. And Billy is starting to realize, because Billy's been struggling with his role as a ranger for a while. Like, yeah, he knows he's the smart guy, but like, having to prove himself has never been really something he's done, right?
Okay.
Well, here we have other Trini 2, that's like, okay, look, Billy, I don't know if you're really Billy or if you're just a different version of Billy or what you are, but you're going to need this. And she gives him dead Billy's morpher. Billy 2's morpher. And he's like, and she's basically just like, look, he lived long enough to give me his power coin, and I've been holding on to this for years. So don't ruin this. Like, this is our last scrap of hope. And as Billy gets ready to step up to the plate and be the man that Trini knows he can, Goldars go up against giant robot dinosaurs. And they're all pretty much just intent on tearing things apart. And by that, I mean they are very literally tearing the Zords apart. They rip open the saber-toothed tiger Zord. Goldar grabs Trini and is like, all right, we're taking her with us. Come on. And we get the first close-up appearance of the pink sentries in the world of the Coinless. The pink sentries, because as you know, Kimberly uses a bow and arrow. She's a ranged attack. These sentries are snipers.
Which ranged attacks?
So the Black Rangers have guns, which the power axe that Zack uses doubles as a gun, right? Mm-hmm. The saber-tooth tigers, we don't really get to see what they use as sentries. We only know that Trini uses the twin daggers. And then we have the lances with the swords on them for the Tyrannosaurus. So they're kind of keeping in that same vibe or category as each of the Rangers did, but they're giving it its own flair. Also, the fact that they gave the snipers not only capes, but like full-blown hoodies, just beautiful.
Yep. Again, just the detail.
Just this detail that they give, this, like the love and care they give to them is amazing. And Draken, being the evil bastard he is, tears his way into the Falcon Zord and just whoops ass. He gets in there and he's like, okay, look, Tommy. As I said before, I'm the better version of you. What are you even doing? Why are you even doing this? And Lord Draken is like, I'm going to make a point to everyone here with Tommy do you see this imposter? Do you see how pathetic he is? And Trini's like, okay, Billy, now is your chance. Do you see how Draken is distracted right now? He's focusing on Tommy. You can be the hero. And Billy's like, you know how fun that sounds, but, And, Billy's like, I'm gonna do this the way I know best. And he puts up the white flag.
No.
He just walks out and he's like, all right, guys, we surrender, if that's cool. Yeah, we give up. We don't want to fight no more.
God damn it, Billy.
God damn it, Billy. All right, so this next issue number 15, with the original run of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, every like fifth issue was there one where they had like extra story, but it was always like before, you know, like issue 5 was when Zach was offered to be the Green Ranger. Issue 10 is a whole story about Billy feeling insecure as a ranger very shortly after the Putty Infiltrator story.
Yeah.
Well, issue 15 is Zordon's journey that he's been on since the command center blew up.
Okay.
So as you remember, the command center filled up with this green chaos energy and exploded. And that sent Zordon flying through dimensions. So he is seeing multiple timelines happening at once. And he gets to see firsthand how Tommy became the evil Green Ranger and what happened after that. Much like that, like the flashbacks we've been getting of like Tommy or the Draken's fight against the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
We get to see a bit more of the exposition, like the extra stuff that shows up. So in addition to the Phantom Ranger, the Power Rangers Turbo series introduced us to the Blue Centurion, who is basically just a robot space cop from the future. Yeah, and he gets decapitated pretty quickly by Tommy. Now, Tommy is at this point, like it's pretty clear that Tommy stands as an evil person, but the Zordon of the world of the Coinless is like, okay, we need to do something here. And it wasn't until he saw Draken kill Jason that he was like, okay, so maybe you might be a bad guy. But it's not too late. It's not too late. You can also be a good guy. And then he does the thing where he just like destroys Zordon's big old tube. The big old tube that basically keeps Zordon tethered to reality. He destroys that. So we have two Zordons now coming face to face and just kind of talking through like what to do from here. Zordon 1, which is from our universe, is kind of like, look, like I see what your universe has turned into, but like there is still hope. There has to still be hope, because my world, Tommy's a good guy. He's a hero. And Zordon 2 is just kind of like that. God, I hope that happens. Truly. Truly good luck to you, Zordon. Like, and he says the line, "May the power protect you." The power protect you is basically like, may the force be with you for Power Rangers.
Okay.
But it's a very weird moment to see that, like, you know how like we've got dozens of movies that are like, you know, this is what your life could have been. You know, Zordon really got an "It's a Wonderful Life" had he failed.
Yeah, it felt that way.
And then Zordon is tethered by Saba. Saba's like, hey, I found you. And Zordon's like, you found me. I'm not your me, though. And Saba and Zordon are kind of just like, okay, look, I know we're not meant to see, like, we're not each other's, right? We don't belong to each other. But do you trust your Tommy? And Zordon inexplicably is like, yeah, I would trust my life on that guy. And Saba says, okay, if that's how you feel, then so will I. And it's revealed that this is the moment when Saba shows up to Zack and says, I'm going to bring you somebody that can help, and then disappears. So this is...
Oh.
So what...
Okay.
Yeah, there's that moment where Saba is, like, in Draken's hands. He basically just abandons him. Zordon, at this point, is like, okay, things are kind of fucked. Things are going to get better. Because I have foreseen it.
He's pretty much like in limbo kind of state.
He's stuck in... Yeah, he's stuck between realities right now.
Yeah.
And he's really hoping that everything turns out for the better. And this is a line that I feel like a lot of people need to hear. Because there's always, there's a lot of people that live with a lot of regret in their life. And like this is getting pretty deep probably for something from a Power Rangers comic, but when you sit there and wonder like what could have been, just remember like what could have been isn't always a good thing. Like there, I remember I've wasted so much time in my life wondering like how if something had been just a little bit different, how much better things could have been. But like at the same time, I realized like they may not have turned out better. Like everything that's happened in your life up to this point happens for a reason, and like going back and trying to change one thing could it potentially create catastrophic results in your own, like in the present day,
That's true.
So like just be content with what you have, because you never know how much worse things could be. And speaking of how much worse things could be, Billy really screwed the pooch by surrendering so bitchingly.
The pooch.
Really. So Billy is confronting, he's standing up to Draken, and he's like, hey, look, I figured out your little tricks. Like, I know how you're doing that thing where you make people's powers all wonky. It's that green chaos energy. And right now, much like we had with two battles happening simultaneously, we're having two conversations that happen simultaneously. Rita is gloating to Trini in Earth 1, while Billy is telling Draken in World 2, Billy 1 in World 2 is telling Draken, like, hey, we've got everything figured out now.
Yeah.
So the Goldars are, again, they're just completely messing up the Zords. Kimberly and her pterodactyl Zords being smacked out of the sky. Trini's being held hostage. And Billy and Trini are giving up the things that they need. Or Billy and Trini are giving up the Blue Ranger Morpher.
Okay.
And as they get close, Trini hands off the Blue Ranger Morpher to Draken. But by doing that, I'm going to be honest with you, I still don't fully understand how this all works out. But basically what happens is Draken and his sentries get zapped because of the connection to the morphing grid that they have being unstable because they don't have the Blue Ranger's morphing powers. So the Ranger sentries, they have red, black, yellow, and pink. But the fifth one is always the Blue Ranger, right?
Okay.
So because they're missing that Blue Ranger, there's an unstable connection. So basically...
Because he didn't steal it?
Right, because he hasn't processed that into the other Ranger powers, right? So because of that, all of those that are connected to the morphing grid are getting zapped. Meanwhile, in Earth 1, the Black Dragon armor that Trini's been working with, she's managed to turn into an exoskeleton, or an exosuit for herself.
That's rad.
So she reveals like, oh yeah, by the way, I knew this kind of thing was going to happen, so I programmed this ahead of time so it can, Iron Man suit onto me. And Billy, and as she's freeing herself from Rita's control, she steals back Billy's power coin, which was what if you recall, the Black Dragon used to completely screw with their powers to begin with. So,
makes sense. Okay.
So she blasts that Black Dragon energy back into the coin, which allows the Power Rangers to get their proper colors back and gives them access to the Triceratops Zord again. They create the Megazord. Trini goes up against Rita one-on-one, Rita just bitches out. And then the Megazord just fucking wails on all of the giant Goldars. And then one of the last Goldars is taunting our Goldar. He's like, "Aw, what's the matter, baby? Are you upset that the better versions of you are... Like, are you upset that, like, you're gonna be replaced soon?" And Goldar... I gotta say, mad props to Goldar. Goldar is given a lot more depth to his character in these comics, because yes, he has his own emotions. Yes, he has his own agendas, but he is still so fiercely loyal to Rita that the idea of anybody saying the otherwise is so offensive to him that they have to die. So yeah, his clone is like, you know what? Like, no wonder Rita wants to get rid of you. You're a bitch. And so Goldar's like, all right, and just stabs him. Just stabs the Goldar clone and walks away. So with everything that's happening in the world of the Coinless, it creates a surge of energy that Trini is able to pick up with the Black Dragon suit. So she is now aware of what's going on the other side in the world of the Coinless. And because of what has happened with the sentries getting zapped by Billy's powers, none of them have power anymore. Draken is powerless, all of his sentries are powerless, and now Tommy is going to just whoop ass on Draken. I'm sorry. The sentries still have their power. Draken is the only one without power now. So while Draken and Tommy are having their little spat, the rest of Draken's armies are like, let's just keep wailing on the Coinless. Like, if we can kill the Coinless, who cares if Draken has powers or not?
Yeah.
And that's when Earth 1's Power Rangers show up. And they open their own cans of whoop ass. And we get to see Bulk commandeering one of the tanks that the sentries pull up in, and just start blasting away. And I will say, one thing that I'm tired of seeing in comics and movies and everything is this unrelenting optimism that so many heroes come with is like this. I know you've done bad things, but maybe there's got to be still some good inside of you, right?
Yeah. And
Tommy, for fuck's sake, it does the same thing. He's like, look, Draken, you're the one that's like, you're losing. Like, just give up. Face the facts that we're better than you because we work together, and maybe we can move forward. And Draken's just like, bet, and jumps off a cliff.
Nah, I like my story better.
Yeah, and so Draken jumps off a cliff, and shit's getting blown up by Bulk. So Scorpina's just like, all right, we've lost, guys. Let's boogie. Let's get out of here. And Rangers are reunited. We get to see Zach and Trini meet Zach and Trini, and it's a very warm ending for the story, because like some really fucked up things happened. A lot of people experienced some really terrible things.
Yeah.
And as our Rangers return home, their teleport or their warper power thing that they do just so happens to be extending far enough that our dear Lord Draken, who's at the bottom of a cliff, gets hit by that teleportation energy.
Oh crap.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Well, the Rangers arrive home at their base of operations, the command center, if you will, and Saba has managed to find Zordon again. He's like, "Hey, guys, I found Zordon. It's your Zordon, actually. So we just gotta rebuild." And so that's what they do. They rebuild. They go back to regular everyday life. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't think I'd be able to do that.
Not right away.
Not right away. Not right away. And we revisit a conversation that happened at the beginning of the what was it? The beginning of the Green Ranger story, where Bulk and Skull were asking, like, what are your thoughts on the Power Rangers and the new Green Ranger? And he finally gives them an answer, and he's basically just like, look, at the end of the day, if we hold on to hope, we'll be fine. And Bulk's just like, gay? And even Skull's like, I don't know, man, I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, like, it's just one of those, like, they return to the norm just so quickly. And like, Tommy and Billy have just been through it. They have been through it. And they're expected to just go back to school.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I can't do that. But we then are treated to see what happened to our friend Draken. And he's surrounded by, well, the United States Army. Or Marines, or something. They've got flags on their shoulders that look like American flags, and they have helicopters. So, Draken...
an armed force.
Right.
For sure.
There's an armed force that's now got Draken in their line of sight. And we know it's not his world anymore, because if it was his world, they would be rescuing him. And these guys have their guns pointed at him.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lord Draken is now in an unfamiliar territory, and I am so very excited to go continue this with you, Jose, because, like, things are getting heated up now, but there is still so much to happen soon.
I'm excited.
So this story, honestly, is this was a very well done story. I really like that the Power Rangers getting to start visiting the multiverse, which does start coming more into play as we get closer and closer to Shattered Grid. Because, God, that's going to deal with, like, all kinds of multiversal travesties and such. So, buckle up, guys. Buckle up, because this train don't stop.